Hello, welcome to this Nelly Byte video on Covert Copy. My name's Neil Simpkins, or Nelly. I'm the lead systems engineer for UKI, Nordics and South Africa. And you can get me on neil@wasabi.com. So Covert Copy is a system where you can take a copy of a live bucket, a bucket with data in it, and it basically makes that bucket completely invisible to anyone else bar the root user. The root user doesn't have access into the Covert Copy bucket until they request access, which is done through MUA, and only then will they get read-only access into the bucket so that they could potentially restore the data in the event of the primary bucket going offline or failing or becoming corrupt for any reason. So what we're going to do today is drop into the console, take a look at Covert Copy, see what it does, see what you need in place to be able to set it up, and then again some of the features on how you would access the Covert Copy bucket if you needed to, and also how you would then go about and delete the Covert Copy bucket if you decided you didn't need it anymore. So the first thing I'm going to do, as always, is get rid of my face, because nobody apart from my mother likes looking at me. There we go. So we'll go ahead and drop into the demo. So here we are at the Wasabi console. I'm going to go ahead and log in as the root user on this account. I do have MFA set up, and MFA is one of the requirements of Covert Copy. So we'll just go and pop the number in there and log into the console. So you'll notice straight away we've got a splash screen here, or a tile for Covert Copy, telling you a bit of information around it. So we'll go ahead and take a look at what it does. Like I said a second ago, you do need MFA enabled, which I have done, and also multi-user authentication enabled. So you'll there's another Nelly Byte video on MUA. So if you haven't got multi-user authentication enabled, you can go ahead and check out that video and get it enabled. You will need both of these two options available for Covert Copy to work. Now I do have some sub-users, Barley Homer and NSVeme. If I logged in with one of these sub-users, they wouldn't see any options for Covert Copy. Sub-users don't get any access to Covert Copy. They can't configure it. They can't do anything at all with it. It is only available to the root user to configure. So if we go up to my bucket list here, you see I've got a few buckets, and I've got this one down the bottom here. You'll see, first of all, you'll see this new button up here. Because I'm the root user, I've got the button that says Show Covert Copy Buckets. If I just click that, I'll show you I've already got one configured. It will show you the Covert Copy bucket name, the source bucket, and whether it's completed or not. But we're going to go ahead and start with a different bucket today. So you can see down here I've got a bucket called Very Secret Data, which contains my very, very secret data. And there's a folder in there called Nelly Secret Stuff. And this contains all my secret. Oh, it's not really that secret. It's just some Veeam backup user guides and a bit of a 3-par CLI reference and some other stuff. So it's not really very secret. But for me, I want to get a copy of this data in a completely hidden Covert Copy bucket. So on my Very Secret Data bucket, I'm going to go and click the 3 dots. And you'll see one of the new tabs is called Covert Copy. So I'll click that. Something's not right. So, like I said earlier, you do need MFA enabled and you do need MU enabled. You also need to have bucket versioning enabled on the source bucket. So I don't have that enabled, so I'm going to go back to the properties of my source bucket. And I'm going to go to versioning, and I'm just going to slide the slider along to enable bucket versioning. That's all I need to do, nothing else. So I've gone and hit the bucket versioning now. I can go back into the properties of the bucket and Covert Copy, and now you can see it's saying, yep, everything is as it should be. Okay, So, region for the covert copy bucket. Well, do you want it to reside in the same region or the same vault, the same data center, or do you want it in another one? Now, it can only be in the same geographic continent region. So, for me, I'm in the UK, so my region is EMEA, so I can pick any of the other EMEA data centers. I cannot do a covert copy to one of the American data centers or one of the APAC data centers. So, as my source bucket is in EUS1, I'm going to actually pick EUS3 because I want my covert copy bucket to be in a different Wasabi data center. So I'll go ahead and pick EUS3. What versions of the objects do I want in the copy? All versions or just the most current versions? Well, I've only just put the data in, so all versions is good for me. And which objects do I want to covert copy? Well, all of them. I don't want a subset. I don't want just images or just a certain folder. I'm going to want all my objects in my covert copy. So I'll go ahead and check this. So yes, I'm sending it to a second data center and I want all my versions to be copied. Now I will point out here, this is a copy, a one-off, at the moment, a one-off copy. So this is going to create me a copy of the bucket. In the future, I've been told, hopefully on the roadmap, we're going to have a continuous update of the bucket available. So all new data that arrives in the source bucket will get copied to the covert bucket. But at the moment, this is a one-off, copy, almost like a snapshot, but it's not. It is a copy of the live bucket. So I'm going to go ahead and next. It's going to give me some highlights of what we're doing. And it will tell me that the data will not be able to be deleted for a minimum of 30 days. So that's quite important. If you're doing a test on a covert copy bucket just to see what it does, be aware that you won't be able to delete that covert copy bucket for at least 30 days. So to enable this, I need to pop my MFA code in. So we'll go and grab that quickly off the phone before she changes, and hit create bucket. So there we go. I've got the little pop-up telling me the covert copy bucket has been created. You'll see that it says status in progress. Obviously we do need to copy the data, so that's what we're doing on the back end. Now if I try and go into this bucket, in fact we'll pick the other bucket I had earlier. If I try and go into the bucket, it's not going to allow me until I enable access or request access to view or have read-only access into this bucket. So by default, a covert copy bucket sits there. You don't have access to it until you request access. So let's just have a look at some of the actions that are available on the covert copy bucket. So I can request access. And I can look at the settings. So let's have a look at the settings. So on this old bucket that I created before, you can see that it's completed. I've got all versions that have been copied over. So this is absolutely, an identical copy of the live bucket when I took this covert copy. And my retention periods are enabled. So let's just have a quick look at that, the retention. So as I said earlier, when you create a covert copy bucket, we actually set the retention, the protection period on that bucket at 30 days. Now that protection renews every 30 days. So if I disabled my auto renewal, the data in this covert copy bucket would still be protected depending on how far through the 30-day cycle we happen to be. So let's just cancel this a second and just see when I created the bucket. So I created this bucket on the 16th of October. So that's when the 30-day cycle started. So it's the 19th of November today. So actually what's happened is that 30-day period has just rolled over 3 days ago. So if I disabled the retention settings here now, I would still have to wait another 27 days before I could actually delete the data in this bucket. So I hope that makes sense. So we have a rolling 30-day auto renewal on the protection around the data in the bucket, and I could only delete the data, once that 30-day cycle is up. But that 30-day cycle could be anywhere through, being, you have got 30 days to wait, or you might only have 1 day to wait, depending on how far through the actual auto renew process it is. So we're not going to do anything with this bucket. Let's just go back to the other bucket. So we can see that's now copied perfectly. So I now know I've got 2 hidden covert copy buckets. If I come back to my root user, they can't see the buckets unless they toggle this. And any other sub-user will not have this slider, and they will not be able to see any covert copy buckets. Also at the S3 access layer, so if you were coming in using something like Wasabi Explorer or S3 browser, you wouldn't see the covert copy buckets at all. And just to show you that as well, if I just drag in a quick Wasabi Explorer here, you can see, I'll refresh, I'm in as the root user, I'm in as my main user, I've got my root access keys in here. I can see my very secret data bucket, because that is, that's just the source bucket, it's not hidden, this isn't the covert copy bucket. But what I can't see, even as the root user, is any of the covert copy buckets. They are completely hidden to anyone but the root user in the console. So back into the console now. Let's have a look at, just go back into the covert copy buckets. And so let's say I need to get to this very secret data now. I need to get access into this data. I want to, I want to get some of the data out of here. Maybe I've accidentally deleted that in my source bucket, or it's become corrupt in some way. So I need to get this data back and put it back into my source bucket, or do something with it. So I need to request access into this bucket. Now I can do it here, or if I click on the bucket itself, it's going to say you will need to request access to get into this bucket. So I'm going to send the request. So what that's going to do, it's going to send an email to my security contact in MUA, which in this instance is just my email address, neil@wasabi.com. This is different from my root email address. You'll see my root email address is nsimpkins@wasabi.com. My security contact is a different email address because it has to be. So it's going to my alias of neil@wasabi.com. And you'll notice on that alias, when I created that MUA for this user, I put on the settings for the access covert copy or delete the covert copy. So those are the 2 activities that I've enabled that this user will have to sign off if I want to do these items. So I'm just going to go into my email. Now I'm just going to do it this way. I've just dragged half of my Outlook onto the screen. Obviously I don't want to show all of my support emails that are coming in. But you'll see the first one that I've got is going to my primary root account. It's telling me that I submitted the request to have bucket access on one of my covert copy buckets. And then another email arrived in my other mailbox saying, hey, someone's requested access into this bucket, the very secret data covert copy bucket. It came from the root user, nsimpkins@wasabi.com, and if I click continue, that user will have 24-hour read-only access on that bucket. Once that 24-hour time window expires, then again the covert copy bucket will lock, and they will have to request access if they want to do anything with the bucket. So I'm going to go and click continue. That's just going to drop me into another page. Again, it's just saying, let's get rid of Dashlane there. This has been requested. Again, it just tells you the information. And then if I want to approve it, I can go ahead and go, yep, I trust Neil. I think he's a reputable character, and he's not going to do anything with the data other than restore it where it needs to be. So I'm going to go ahead and approve that bucket access. So this will just take a second, and then I got confirmation that the activity was approved, and that user can now access that bucket as they need to. So go ahead and just click this. I have had another email just drop in that just says yes, the security contact approved the bucket access, so that's gone to my root account email, so I know that I now have access. So I'm going to go back into my buckets, and I'm just checking I'm still recording. Yeah, hopefully that's good. And I'm going to take a look at my covert copy buckets, and because I'm the user that requested access, I can now see inside this bucket, and I can see the data, and I can go ahead and take the data I need, download the data, find the file I want, download that file, do what I need to do with it, put it back into its original location. So this is all the only access we've got at the moment. There are hopefully in the future we'll be able to do things like rollback primary bucket, or select version, rollback certain versions. But at the moment, the options available are just to access the bucket, and then to be able to see the files and download the files locally, and then they could be then re-uploaded to the primary bucket. So as the email did say, although we've got access, what's going to happen is in 24 hours, this bucket is going to be locked down again, and you won't have any access into the bucket anymore. So the other thing we'll look at today is the ability to stop that. Stop the automated protection happening, so that you could potentially delete the bucket in the future if you need to. So let's say this bucket here, the NS data one, I didn't need that data anymore. So I'm going to come into settings, and remember we talked about the retention period enabled, and we check the date, so I can see, oh actually the rollover for the protection was 3 days ago, so I do have 27 days to wait, but I do want to delete this bucket in 27 days time, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the auto renewal. Now everything is done with MFA and MUA here, so the first thing will be MFA, so we'll go ahead and pop 696839. Okay, so that's now been modified. So it's going to tell me how long retention I've got left. So remember I said the rollover was 3 days ago, or just over. So I know, or it tells me now, that to be able to delete that bucket, I have to wait 26 days because it's a 30-day rolling retention period. So I need to wait another 26 days before I can go ahead and delete the covert copy bucket that I don't need anymore. So in the meantime, if I suddenly thought, oh actually I did that wrong, that's the wrong bucket, or actually, I suddenly decided I do want to keep the data, I can just go back in and re-enable it. Again, it requires MFA, so we'll just pop that in if I can get there in time. There we go. So it's re-enabled again. It's still, the time period doesn't change. It doesn't re-change the stamp. It's still on the 26 days and 5 hours that I would have to wait. One last thing I thought I would try is to see what happened if I deleted the source bucket. So I've got my very secret data here. And I'm just going to go ahead and see what happens if I delete my source data. So, as always, I need to pop in my I need to copy or type in the word or the name of the bucket. So we're going to pop that in there. So it will not let me because it's associated with a covert copy bucket. So this just shows you that if you've got a covert copy bucket linked to a source bucket, you will not be able to delete the source bucket until you've deleted the covert copy bucket. So this will also stop anyone maliciously trying to delete the bucket, as they will not be able to. It does point you to our docs site, so if you want to look at the documentation for setting up a covert copy outside of this video, just to see the information around it, you can go into our docs page and you can see all the information around covert copy there. So I think that's all for this video. So we've gone through, if you remember back at the start, just making sure that we've got MFA and MUA enabled for the root account. And then we took one of our buckets and we created a covert copy by just enabling, just going into the covert copy options. And then we looked at the settings and we enabled read-only on the bucket so we could get into the data and see it. And we also looked at how, the emails coming into the, the security contacts, so they have to approve the access. And at the moment, I've only got one security contact in there, but you can have up to 3. So, that email might go to 3 different people and they all have to agree access before you get, into the bucket itself. So I hope that video was useful. Thank you for watching, and see you again.